Welcome. Thank you for joining the latest episode of Under the Cupola, a show where I, as the town manager, talk to a variety of different people who make Weston the great place that it is. As you all know, my name is Leon Gaumond, and I have the pleasure and the honor of being the town manager here in the town of Weston. And today I'm joined with our DPW director, Thomas Cullen. Thomas, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Thank you for joining us.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to a nice conversation with you.
Me too.
So tell us a little bit about your experience, how you got into municipal government, how you got into working in the DPW here in Weston.
Sure. A little history about me. Way back in the day, when I was young, and my parents basically said to me, we want you to do this particular direction, go to college, and middle school that I was a middle schooler and heading in a particular direction. So my father contacted one of our neighbors who was a contractor and said, why don't you put my son to work? And I ended up being a brick mason's laborer for a gentleman that was building subdivisions. We also laid pipe. We also graded roadways and the such. And I said to myself, I don't know if I want to do the brick mason laborer for the rest of my life, but this other stuff is fairly interesting. So I kind of focused when I went to high school towards the sciences, ended up getting a degree in civil engineering at UMass. Started my career at Mass Highway, went to the private sector, came back to the municipal sector, basically in the town that I grew up in. And then I ended up here in Weston I guess it's 9 years ago now.
Yeah. Almost a decade of work for the town of Weston.
Yep.
You've seen a lot of things happen in your time here.
Significant changes, I think.
Yeah.
Significant changes, from roadways to water work to tree work to traffic-related issues to drainage-related issues. I mean, it runs the gamut.
You had a lot of projects that you got stuck with doing when you came to Weston.
Sure.
Yeah, not a lot of rest.
Not a lot of rest. It's been a busy 9 years.
Yeah. Tell me about the department as a whole. Tell me about the things that you folks do, the different divisions that you have, what your responsibilities are and your employees. What are your responsibilities?
Sure. So I oversee the department. It's a department of 33. Several divisions: the administration division, the engineering division, water, stormwater, highway, fleet maintenance. I believe I hit on all of them.
Parks and Cemetery.
Parks and Cemetery, and the transfer station. So again, multiple divisions. Most of the divisions, for the most part, have 2 or 3 people that are part of each of that division, with the exception of the highway. What do we do? I'm going to premise it with, what don't we do? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to also premise it with, when you all wake up in the morning, we've somehow touched you in some way, the DPW, from the minute you wake up to basically when you go back to sleep. You turn on the water to brush your teeth or have that first glass of water. We're involved in that. You had your house built and there were road opening permits or street permits or whatever that were needed to bring the utilities to the house. We're involved in that. You drive over the roadways and we're collecting the stormwater and cleaning the basins and making sure that the treescape is what it's supposed to be. We're involved in that. So again, typically from the morning that you wake up in the morning until the evening, we've touched you in some way or fashion.
And heaven forbid, if it snows, you're out there taking the snow off of the streets and the sidewalks.
If it snows, and we like mild winters, but if it snows, the guys are out there, and they're out there. Sometimes we've gone 36 hours straight.
Yeah. So you have you maintain a lot of property here in Weston, between streets and sidewalks, but also parklands.
Parks, cemetery, the transfer station area, the DPW. We also do landscape work at the police station, as well as several other properties in town as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. What are some of the services that you folks provide that maybe many people don't know about? And I'm thinking about stormwater as an example.
Yep.
Describe that one for me.
So again, when Leon's describing stormwater, it's basically the stuff that falls from the sky and ends up on the roadway. Most of the stormwater that's collected is collected through a closed drainage system. That closed drainage system consists of manholes and catch basins and pipe, and then ultimately discharges to some form of wetland, whether it's a river, a stream, or a brook, or sometimes even retention facilities. So yeah, we have that burden of maintaining that infrastructure, whether that's cleaning the structures, which were mandated through the state permitting process, or clearing blockages or dealing with beaver-related issues, as an example.
You failed to mention one of my favorite topics, though. You failed to mention trees.
Yeah, we deal with trees too, and the stuff that falls from the trees, the leaves and the branches and the such. I forget the number relative to the inventory trees that we did 4 or 5 years ago. We ultimately undertook a 3-year program to inventory the infrastructure, as I call it, the trees that we have in town. It was done for a couple of reasons. One, to get a sense of order of magnitude of what we deal with, as well as to assess the condition of the infrastructure that we're required to maintain. And again, it was somewhat eye-opening relative to the conditions of the trees that we have in town. When I say that, I'm meaning dead, fair condition, excellent condition. And again, unless we know what the issue is specifically, and we can't really develop a master plan associated with how to deal with it.
But we're working on that kind of stuff.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. It's actually being expedited through our planning department.
So one of the awesome responsibilities that you have as the DPW director is you're the tree warden.
I am.
You have constitutional responsibilities.
I do. Mass general law as well as local laws.
Good, good. What are some of the things that you guys are thinking about working on over the next year or two? What are some of the things that you see as the areas that we need to be improving upon and working on?
So again, we started on the roadway program some 9 years ago. We're coming to the end of not necessarily the end, but we're coming to the end of the major reconstructions and stuff that have to happen. Probably be finished within the next 4 to 5 years. The next real big piece of infrastructure that we were concerned about, and it was really highlighted in our 2019 water distribution master plan, was our water tanks, the capacity of the tanks. And what really drove that discussion was actually in 2016 when we had that drought year. And from a capacity standpoint, our pump stations couldn't keep up with the demand. Mm-hmm. And at one point during the summer, the tanks actually ran dry.
Would there be a public safety
There
concern
was,
about that?
and the select board ultimately ended up having an emergency meeting to address it. And in that particular instance, they instituted one of the bylaws in town, which was basically for the conservation of water. And we ultimately created this odd even watering outdoor use policy. We ended up redoing it again this year because of the drought. And I think we were preemptive associated with that versus reactive the last time. But I would say our biggest challenge moving forward is the tanks and the tank replacements. The tank ages are vary between, I think it's 1931 to 1958.
Yeah.
So they've come to the end of their service life.
Yeah, interesting. It's a big undertaking to take that replacement project on, but it's going to be have generational impact for the residents of Weston.
It will.
Know? It's going to
It
have
will.
great. Speaking of generational impact, the town center project that you led for the last couple of years has really changed the face and the character of the town center, and for the better.
It has. I think the combination of that project as well as the old library renovation and the JST, I mean, I think it's changed the landscape.
Yeah, yeah,
Literally changed the landscape.
yeah. It's definitely looks different even in the short time that I've been here.
It does.
So congratulations on that.
Yep.
What are some of the things that you get all the time, calls that you might get that you wish the people of the town of Weston would know about you and your operations at the DPW?
Again, some of the calls or issues that ultimately come up is when they're redeveloping properties and the ability or lack of ability to actually cut into the roadways and brand new roadways. I think we've somewhat addressed that with the new road opening requirements, whereas before we had a 5-year moratorium, which is no cutting. There's now a structure set up that we've limited it to 3 years and with penalties if you come in before the 5 years. That's some of the stuff that we deal with. The tree-related issues are constant. Again, I think one of the larger challenges that we have in town is balancing the ecosystem with the trees and the such, and balancing that with public safety. What else am I involved in? I'm involved with coordinating with state agencies on a number of projects. That could be with the MWRA, that could be with MassDOT as an example.
So the
Marion Street Bridge.
MWRA is the water that they handle the water.
They supply us our award-winning drinking water.
Yeah.
We distribute it to the properties, but it's ultimately provided by those folks. The water is ultimately coming from the Quabbin Reservoir out west in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So again, MassDOT.
And MassDOT is Mass DOT.
Mass DOT.
Right. Department of Transportation.
DCR, which is Department of Conservation and Recreation. We deal with those folks. The Rail Trail Project is a classic example of that, as well as some other projects that they're working on in town. So yeah, again, some coordination with state agencies and the such.
Yeah, good. The one thing about the DPW you highlighted at the beginning is that so many people, who traverse through Weston or live in Weston have interaction with you and your operations on a very, very regular basis.
And most times not even realizing it.
Yeah, and most times not realizing it. So, I mean, when you think about the town and the character of the town, so much of the things that make Weston special happen because of, the good thing that you and your team does for the community. You keep us up and moving. You keep us, safe and healthy with our drinking water. And heaven forbid, once we pass away, you give us a nice place to stay when we're moving forward. So
Exactly.
So. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to sit and talk with you, introduce you to the residents of Weston. And to the residents of Weston, I want to thank you for watching this presentation today. And I will see you next time under the cupola.